Great. Well, we're talking about staffing for the future. And the thing that comes to mind is what we have now. And I'm speaking from RS&H standpoint, but I think industry-wide, there is a need now. We have openings that we're trying to fill. And then when you think about the future, what are those roles going to be? Is it more of the same? Or are we going to start looking at, and this is kind of a loaded question, are we going to start looking at other skills and other individuals that we would be chasing to round out our team? So I guess that first question is for the now, how are we facilitating hiring now to be geared up, to be staffed for that future, to be able to do the work that we feel is ahead of us? What are some of the things that we're doing now?
I can definitely start the conversation, but to be honest, a lot of my thoughts may be very similar to what Kellen will already be saying, because work with him. So if someone else, Gene, I see you on video. If you want to go first, feel free. Otherwise, I can at least give some thoughts just to get the conversation going.
You go ahead and start, Radha.
Okay. Well, the first thing when talking about staffing, especially for now, that really comes to me is the challenges lately we are having with the salaries. We all had this issue like few years ago, but where salaries were kind of going up so much, and it was so difficult in retention part of the staffing. And then we thought that all kind of somewhat stable in 2019 or maybe in 2020. But some of the things that we saw recently in a couple of our markets, I mean, obviously I'm talking specifically what I saw at RS&H. I was just amazed some people that left, what kind of salaries they were offered, and trying to compare that to positions in-house. So obviously that's coming because of the demand. That's where the demand is. That's where this great resignation phase is going in. But I am definitely interested in learning how are other people managing that retention portion of staffing for now. It's on the salaries side. So that's my number one thing that comes to my mind.
I guess maybe I'll go next.
Gene,
yeah.
Can I just say something before you actually go ahead and
please do, Artie.
Hey, Kellen, I just wanted to make sure maybe you can assign a scribe within the group. So
already
that we have
already done. Joseph is our person.
Got him covered.
Awesome.
Scribbling at will, and hopefully the recording will help sense of my handwriting too.
Thank you. Sorry, Gene.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem, Hardik. So what I was just going to say is our firm is, we are actually a home-based work firm, even prior to the pandemic. And one of the opportunities that we see, and it obviously may not apply for some of you folks, but one of the opportunities that we see right now is that with some folks now having had the experience of working at home for the last year and a half, and their firms trying to bring them back into the office, at least part-time, we see that actually as an opportunity from our perspective for individuals who feel that they value or that they've worked better in the work from home environment. So, obviously, if you're sort of a bricks and mortar operation, you certainly have to have recognition of people, but maybe there needs to be some more flexibility in some of the opportunities to accommodate people's desires to continue working from home.
I'm glad you brought that up, Gene. I wanted to maybe stay on that topic. One of the things that for those that were fully in the office and obviously had to go to remote, one of the anxieties that was brought up was that connectivity of seasoned individual being shadowed by a junior individual, and in the virtual setting, that going away. But let's talk, Gene, or others, about how maybe those myths have been dispelled, and junior level talent still being able to shadow, if you will, those senior individuals as they are marching towards becoming PEs and so forth.
And maybe I can start the conversation and then pass it along, because we've been, as I mentioned, we've been a work from home business for almost 20 years now, and we, to be perfectly frank, find it challenging to bring on recent grads to be able to provide them a suitable sort of mentoring environment. But some of the things that we've tried to do is team them up with sort of a project manager or a project lead that they always consistently work with, so that they're getting regular mentorship from one person. One of the challenges that we had in the past is that our more junior folks would kind of get lost a little bit in the talent pool, and would be getting different guidance from different project managers. It wasn't necessarily wrong, but it was just different. And they had a challenge being able to differentiate what were good practices, or what were practices that were good things and what weren't good things, and what was the right way, because they were getting taught lots of different ways. So one of the things that we did is we more formally instituted a sort of a one-to-one relationship between a more senior person and a more junior person. And they tended to provide them their regular work assignments. So they would meet more frequently, especially over video calls and even telephone calls and by emails, just to sort of keep track of what was happening. But one of the things that sort of has come to light for us is we find it a lot more challenging, as I said, with the new grads. So what we try to do is we try to bring them on as students before we consider hiring them. If we are going to hire a graduate, we'll bring them on as a student, and then provide some mentorship through that exercise and see how they work in that environment of the work from home, because it's not for everyone. Some people do need the more close, they learn organically by being in close proximity to somebody. So as I said, just a couple of things. One, sort of one-to-one mentorship, regular and frequent contact on a regular basis, providing work assignments that are sort of well-defined, because we can, to a great extent in our profession, we can define work assignments, as pieces of work and have people do those, and sort of regular check-ins to be able to do that, and look for training opportunities that are offered, through the industry or through other organizations.
Appreciate that. As I think about talent acquisition in the future, to piggyback off of that, it's going to be, I believe, increasingly important to organizations to focus on bringing in that junior level talent as more senior level individuals start to roll off or roll out. It's going to be difficult to just be trying to compete for the same senior level individuals. And so to mitigate that, really it's going to be hiring junior level. In fact, I just ran the numbers at RS&H. 39% of our architecture and engineering hires were in that what we call E1 space or A1 space. So new grads, or maybe 1 to 2 years max out of college, which is a significant portion. Are other firms also looking towards that as a way to staff up and also prepare for the future, focusing on those early career individuals?
Hi, I'm sorry. This is Nassar Khan in West Palm Beach with Erdman Anthony. My question may be a little out of order, but I think before we start talking about the issue and how to resolve it, maybe you guys know it, but I don't. I need to know, what is the overall number, national, regional, about what was the demand projected for transportation engineering professionals? And was there a shortfall even before the pandemic started? What is the status now? And do we have any projection for what will be the demand when all that additional funding and resources that we anticipate will be injected in the system, and how will we cope up with that? I'll mute and then listen to you guys.
Hey, Kellen, I'm going to jump in here. So Nasir, to your point, I don't know what that number is. I think we can certainly get that through the Federal Highway and some of the other stats. But I think what Brandy ended up saying in her remarks, if I heard it correctly, I think it was there's a shortage somewhere in the range of 500,000 in the workforce in general. And this includes like the contractors, consultants, and kind of like everything combined together. And I agree that with the influx of the infrastructure bill that will be passing through, where you're going to see a lot of movement on projects moving forward, I think that's going to be workforces continue to be another issue. So again, don't have the exact numbers, but I think that's kind of like what I picked up from Brandy's remark as well from Federal Highway. Switching gears again, I do agree with Gene and Radha, and I think even trying to maybe piggyback into Radha's comment about the retention part. I think the mentoring of the younger staff and making sure that you're kind of like walking the walk with them, I think that's really a critical component as we try to groom and develop some of these, what I would call it, the young guns and the future leaders. But I think the key components, those are great things. Some of the other key components that can certainly help support that, I think that would be really having the early career pathing discussions with them to make sure that they understand and they know what kind of career path that they want to track, that they want to be on, whether it's on the technical side, whether it's on the management side, and being able to kind of like really provide them the opportunity to be able to get there. I think that's really the critical component. And I think if we can really set the stage for the younger folks and maybe even mid-level engineers, I think it can certainly help the retention component when you're looking at more from, that does not solve the workforce issue, but I think it is from retaining the talent within the firm or the agency. I think you can certainly see some positive development there. And I think the other thing that I have really focused on is also, regardless of maybe a task that you're giving to a younger engineer, being able to really convey them the why behind the task, even if it's a small task, but it might be for a multi-million, billion-dollar project, and understanding why they are doing what they are doing. I think that actually goes a long ways as well. And then just the early engagement and exposure to the client and client interactions as you continue to maybe have the production folks working on things. I think it's important that they do get the exposure to have that face time with the client interactions, because I think that's going to help build their confidence and really help them get the opportunity that they might be looking for to be able to kind of like build up their career as well. And I think that can ultimately help out with the retention as well. So again, market is pretty hard, so there's nothing you can do about if someone gets 20% increase in salary and decides to make a move. Sometimes I think that might be the right thing for them, but I think it's the passion. If we can get people passionate about what they are doing and where they are at, I think that will probably go a long ways.
I appreciate your sentiments, and I would like to add, for me, what's important when we talk about recruiting and retention, it's not just amongst ourselves. I think we all, as a trade industry, need to be thinking about how do we recruit people into this industry, getting them on a path to go to college or to pursue whatever it is that we need to support our industry. That's the second. And then it's the same thing with retention. I don't have the numbers. I'm glad that the question was brought up there. But when I'm out there in the market, right, and I'm looking for that PE with, let's say, 10, 12 years experience, why am I struggling to find those individuals as much? Well, think about what happened 10 years ago, right? The Great Recession. People left the field. They didn't have jobs. And so now, fast forward, if they would have stayed in their career path, they would be that 10-year, 15-year person. They're not. And so I think we owe it to ourselves. Yes, things are hot. We're gearing up for a potential boom of the future, but we have to make sure that we're doing what we can to entice people to get into these jobs, and then also do what we can to stay, to get people to stay. Retain at your company. Right? I want everyone at RS&H to stay at RS&H. But the reality is, at the end of the day, we need to focus as an industry as well. Getting people in, keeping people. And I think that career pathing, as Hardik said, is really important. People can see, and we have consistent career paths across the industry. Even if someone jumps the company, they'll be inclined to at least stay in the field, which would make it even better for us in the future if we can retain talent at our companies and within the industry. We have 5 minutes left. I wanted to open up the floor. Any other thoughts? We haven't talked about diversity. We haven't talked about college recruiting. There's a lot of different other things we could talk about. So I'll open up the floor to just any other thoughts people have as we look at recruiting in the future, or maybe new skill sets. Are there new individual skills that you're pursuing that maybe 5 years ago or this year you wouldn't have thought, oh, I need to go find that person?
Yeah, Kellen, I'll jump in real quick again. I think you made a good point about the recruiting industry-wide. I think that's a big thing. And I think the way our industry has been changing, I mean, we know that civil engineers and transportation professionals, I think there's a paradigm shift in terms of the use of technology and how the connected autonomous vehicle technology is going to play another bigger role as we navigate through the future. I think trying to really focus on there's going to be more interaction happening between the computer science and maybe the IT side, and how does that kind of like work with what we do as transportation engineers, and maybe even trying to get the talent developed and getting excited, whether it's on the high school level or maybe whether it's on kind of like the college level, and making sure that everyone kind of like understands the importance of what that could mean to the bigger good and good cause for the entire industry in general. So I think that is going to be another important challenging aspect as well. And I think we can certainly make strides kind of like in that direction, working closely with the universities and maybe the faculties to help them kind of like understand what it means in terms of the future for the profession. So
I would also add that I think it starts earlier than, obviously than university, because, you need to get them headed in the right track when they enter university. So IT has been doing, a number of STEM initiatives that I think would be, that I think we need to continue to promote and find opportunities to expand upon, because, once you get them in, once you get them in, you can help focus them maybe in the direction we want to go, but it's getting them in the first place. I think that's the challenge. And, it's sort of cross-cutting with the diversity and inclusion aspects as well, right? In terms of looking for opportunities to involve, a broader cross-section of individuals who may not have considered this profession before. So I think we probably need tools to help identify those sort of circumstances and help aim some of our efforts in that direction. And, IT's Diversity Scholars Program is, certainly helpful in that regard. And there may be some further opportunities to expand upon that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we're unable to diversify the current population, right? We are who we are as a current population. So to your point, Gene, when you think about it, my suggestion is be connected to those professional organizations. Most of the professional organizations are looking upstream. They have chapters, not just in college, but when you think about like the NSBs, the SHIPs, SWEs of the world, WTS, now they're in high schools, now they're in middle schools. So we as an organization have partnered with those individuals, and through WTS, it's part of their Transportation U, dealing with 13 to 18-year-old females that are hopefully going to enter into transportation careers in their lives. So that's, I think, one of my ending points, because I have 1 minute, to suggest that we look at how we can be involved even as early as elementary and middle school, to Gene's point, to get anyone, to get people involved. Any other lasting thoughts?
Quickly, I'll say similar to what Hardik said about computer scientists, data analytics, and statisticians is what we are finding, and is a lot more integration into the sectors too. So it's very similar to what you both already said, but that's a completely another field as well.
Appreciate that.